What's up, y'all? It's Lyric Zone from Brutal Business. You're now checking out Skippy Ickham from Uncovering the Underground. Check this shit out now. No one ever treated me like you did.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Uncovering the Underground radio podcast show. If you were listening, we did have a little bit of technical difficulty, so we had to end the episode in mid-episode, so I apologize for anybody that listened to the music and started the beginning of the interview with the Wild and Free. We did jump off there, got everything fixed with the communication problems we were having here with the computer, and we are right back with it. So if you are listening in for the first time, as always, I'm your host, Skippy Ickham of Brutal Business Entertainment, and we are airing through all online streaming devices. I'm not going to go back into them on this specific spot, but you can check us out anywhere where podcasts are aired. Share us around. We would appreciate it. Thanks to all of our sponsors for the evening. And we're going to jump right back in it. We do have the Wild and Free on the line with us. They are a pop alternative band from St. Louis, Missouri, and we are very excited to have them on the line and be interviewing them tonight. I will give a quick flashback on the bio of them, and we'll jump back into where we were. Once again, folks, we apologize if you had to jump in between the two. The Wild and Free came about as a studio experiment that Mike and Dan came up with that they ended up liking so much that they decided to pursue as a full-time, project for themselves. This is where they brought Rachel in as the powerhouse frontwoman and Mark on the drums to fill out the perfect lineup. After tracking their debut LP, the debut LP, I stumbled there last time too, I can't read tonight, the band decided to add bassist Zach Shaw to the lineup. Right now, they are planning for a lot of Midwest touring to support their debut LP, and you can check out all of their shows on the Shows tab at the top of their online website, which is thewildandfreeband.com. Again, that is thewildandfreeband.com. Now, we jumped into the beginning of the interview last time, and my first question to them, and I guess I will have them answer it again, so I apologize, guys, but we asked, if it's something that Mike and Dan had known each other for a while, or this was their first time jamming together, what led to them making the beginning of this band, and we are going to have them recap on that. Sorry, guys, go ahead and tell us again.
Yeah, so myself and Mike were in a band previous to this that had some decent success, and then when that kind of fizzled out, we started this new project, The Wild and Free, and we kind of got drunk one night watching The Rocker and kind of drew out everything we wanted in our perfect band, and this is what came out of it.
It's funny that story is 100% true. We watched a movie, The Rocker, if you've never seen it, starring Rainn Wilson. It's amazing. We were drinking grape bombs, which is Dan's favorite shot, or at least it was at the time.
Not anymore.
We had way too many. I believe we cried that night. It got bad. We're like, our band's breaking up. We're drinking grape bombs. Like, let's just quit. It's over. And then we're like, you know what? What would be the perfect band? And like Dan said, we drew it on a piece of paper. Here's what it looked like. We want a female singer. We want a flashy drummer. And we decided right then and there to end the current band and start The Wild and Free. And like Dan said earlier, it's been almost 2 years now, and we're still going strong, and it's going great.
Now, you guys, as I said before, certainly have a wonderful sound. I've been listening to you the past couple of weeks. Dakota from the Devil Inside Records, is the one who brought me across you guys. We were doing some different business ventures with one another, and he'd mentioned, hey, I have a guest for you that you need to check up coming up for your show, because he knew about the radio show, and he sent me the link to you guys, and I checked you out, and right away I'm like, wow, that is something, as I said earlier, I think if you guys stick to it and you get this out to the masses, that certainly this will be like a wildfire and it will grow rapidly. I think you guys have a major future ahead of you if you can stick together and push through all the shit that obviously the scene throws at you. If you can get through that, you guys have a sound that will certainly last.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, I asked earlier too, and then we'll be caught up to where we were and we can continue forward, did the five of you always know each other, or was this something that you kind of came into contact with one another over time?
Yeah, so Dan and I, like he said, we were in a band previous to this, and after that, everyone else was pretty much brand spanking new. Dan knew Rachel from high school, but Mark, our drummer, he was new to both Dan and myself. So when the band first started, and we needed a female singer, the first person we were going to audition actually was going to be Dan's sister.
Yeah.
And we were going to be kind of like maybe country or something.
Yeah, it's like pop country.
Pop country, and she's a great artist by herself, but a week before the studio, she bailed, I was in Florida. Dan called me and said, Haley's out. What are we going to do? And my stomach, sank. I was like, oh no, we're done. We're going to be in the studio in a week. We have money on this. We need somebody. And I think Dan found Rachel or asked her or knew about her. And he sent me a couple of her clips. And I was like, she looks great. She sounds great. Let's give her an audition. So the first time, her audition was literally her singing I think it was Never Really Knew Myself, an old single of ours. And she absolutely killed it. She did her part super quick. She was very good, and we kind of looked at each other. I was like, okay, we might have something here. And after that, we just kept demoing. And Mark's older brother Matt messaged me about him being
because I was playing drums at the time.
I forgot about that. Yeah, Dan was gonna be the drummer. It was such a bad idea. Not that Dan's a bad drummer, but he's a great guitar player. And I was like, are you sure? Like, if this band takes off, like, do you want to be the drummer? Like, all right, let's do it. But then we found Mark, and like I was saying, his older brother said he wanted to try out. And I said, sure, send me his info. And I found out Mark at the time was 17, which I very regrettably messaged back saying, oh, sorry, we're looking for, like, serious inquiries only. He's too young. And then he sent me a clip of him, I think covering a Green Day song, and completely blew me away. He's by far the best musician in the band. He's so good. And we auditioned with him and played a few songs. And of course, he was a perfect fit. That absolute like flashy drummer we were looking for, and a killer writer in the songs. And he joined the band right away. So pretty quickly, we found our lineup. And usually, even with our past band, we went through, several guitar players and even a couple singers and, several different drummers. But this band so far has been, you join the band and everyone's stuck. So that's how we got it.
Feels good.
It feels really good. And then Zach, the last one to join the band, we have known Zach through the local scene for about, 6 or 7 years now.
6, 7 years. Probably.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So we knew we needed a bass player to really round out our live sound. And it was Dan leaving band practice one day said, what about Zach Shaw? And I was like, that could be perfect. And once we all got in the same room together and jammed, we had the final band.
Now, Zach, how was it being the last piece to the puzzle? I mean, when you're coming into something already established that has a good sound, but you are the icing on the cake, so to speak, you're the one finishing it out. How's that feel to be that, how did that, that moment feel for you? And also, what kind of compromises did you have to make when you came in? When you come into a final piece, you're shaping that band, partially yourself with your style, but you also got to kind of let them shape you a little bit. How was that process for you?
It was definitely something I'd never really done before. Because so with Dan and Mike's band, I've known Dan and Mike for years and years, and in their old band, I actually had filled in for them a few times, and we played music just over the years for such a long time. And then when I joined, it was awesome, but like at the same time, I was really nervous because I didn't want to come in and feel like I was being pushy or anything. Like I just sat back. I knew they had their system that worked, and I just wanted to. I was honored already that the fact that they even considered me, and I just came in and we just melded. Like everything just fit perfectly, and it was just kind of like one of those things where it's like, why the hell have we not been doing this for the past 7 years? Like, because our bands had played together, my previous band and their previous band played together like countless times, and I'd even filled in for them a few times. And it was just kind of like, why didn't we come up with this sooner? But no, I'm completely honored, and I'm happy to be a part of the family. Like, I love these guys and this girl like no other. Like, it's awesome.
You guys fit well together. I can tell just listening to you talk together, and obviously I can see the video, so no one else can see the footage. I can, so I get to see these guys interacting with one another, and you can just see the love, between their members, and that's awesome. It's rare to come across. It's something usually you have to build, and for you guys to be all original members of this specific band and get along so well, that's awesome. Like I said, I hope to see you guys take it, to the moon and back, and I think you certainly got the right person for a front woman as Rachel. She kills it. Great voice, great sound, tops off the band perfectly. And funny enough, Rachel, I wanted to say I was talking to a friend or acquaintance of mine earlier today. He runs another radio station that's much bigger than mine, and it's called Replicon Radio. And he goes by Freaky P, and his name's Paul. And I was messaging him earlier because the guest that he has on next week's show just so happens to be the guest on my next week's show. And that happened last minute. My guest for next week had to drop off with some scheduling conflicts, so we filled that with Diabolic the Monster, who's a really big underground rapper, good friend of mine. And we're both on the same show, so I just messaged him. I said, hey, I wanted to let you know, kind of, busting his balls a little bit. Hey, I'm not stealing your guest from you, and we're both using the same guest. I don't want you to think I'm just copying off you and messing with them. And we were talking, and he didn't care. And he's like, oh, who's your next guest on your show? I said, oh, tonight, I said, I got a pop alternative band from St. Louis, Missouri. And out of nowhere, he says back, the Wild and Free. I said,
What?
I said, well, I thought it was really cool. So I said, yeah. I said, how the hell did you know that? He said, I just met Rachel the other night on one of the shows that you guys, that they were playing with Rehab. He says, we said that we liked each other's outfits. I was the one dressed as the dinosaur.
Oh,
Oh!
yeah, that guy.
Dino Man.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
that's crazy.
So I thought that was funny. Just earlier today, I was talking to him. Like I said, he runs a show called Replicon, or a station called Replicon Radio, and they're doing very, very well for themselves. And we both kind of do the same type of show, but also very different. And like I said, I was just happened to reach out to him this morning, ironically, and was saying that. And out of nowhere, whenever he said, "Who do you have on next?" and I said where you guys were from and a pop alternative band, right away he fired back with the Wild and Free question mark. And I
that's
said,
awesome.
yeah, and he says, that's so cool. I just met them the other night. And I was like, wow, what a small world,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very
That
cool.
makes us feel good.
What a compliment. Yeah.
What a priest.
Absolutely. So, more to a question directed at you specifically, Rachel. How was it for you when these guys approached you? I mean, the thing is, I don't know all of your guys' backgrounds as far as the different types of music that you were in. I know that Mike and Dan said that they were doing different types of music and things, and then they came together with this sound. They were thinking about maybe even doing some pop country. What kind of background did you have in music? And whenever you came into the band, what do you feel that you really brought that might have shaped them differently than what they were going to originally head for?
So great question. More than anything, I would say EDM is what I'm bringing to the table. Electric dance music, I'm kind of obsessed with it. It's like my number one favorite of all time thing to listen to. I dance as well, so I brought that to the table. I would say more of a electric vibe to it, if that makes
Okay,
sense.
so you're bringing the spunk to the band. So you
I'm
make them interesting and look good then.
She's the wild, we're the free.
Okay, I got you. I see how it all came together then.
Oh.
That brings me to a good point. How did you guys come up with the name?
I came up with the name one night. We were struggling for a long
Oh,
time.
you got to tell them some of the names you guys were considering.
Rachel wanted to call us the chocolate-covered strawberries that she joked about for months so much that we almost kept it. Karaoke Kids was one that I just did not like, but that was thrown on a lot. The one we almost went for was Ready, Set, Go. That was us. We actually agreed on that at one point, and we decided not to. And going back to Dan and I starting the band, one of our favorite bands is A Rocket to the Moon. And I was listening to their music, and then I thought of I guess it was their second record.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Wild and Free. And I thought that fit the vibe of the band, like Dan said, very well. Like, I immediately thought of Rachel. Like, she is the wild card. She is the one who gets us out of our comfort zone a lot and does her EDM festivals and scares us and all that good stuff in the best way. So I was like, I'm the wild and free. She's the wild, we're the free. She does the EDM. We're more on the rock side. And it just seemed to fit. So I texted Dan, hey, what about the wild and free? And he was like, perfect. And then I messaged everyone else because we needed a name I think that.
Because we were releasing our first single, and
releasing
we
the
didn't have a
Upside Down.
name yet.
Yeah, so I said that, and it just seemed to ultimately fit the four of us, and we stuck with it. So that's how that came about.
No, that's awesome. Like I said, I think it's a very fitting name. It's different, and it catches you, and it honestly explains you guys. So that's perfect. I like it. Now we're gonna jump into a question for Mark, and you came in and they said that you certainly brought something to the table that changed everything as far as your drumming skills. They didn't want to at first give you a chance, which is funny because there was a guy that was a part of a band that I was in for quite a while, and we did the same type of thing. He talked to us about trying out for us, and he was very young, and we're like, yeah, hit us up in a couple years. Well, we ended up letting him come over and jam one time, and when he came over, he absolutely blew our minds. And long story short, he ended up becoming our singer, and then from our singer, ended up becoming signed and travels the world now. So you just never know the weird things that can happen, and you can't put age to any type of thing. How did it feel, being so young, getting turned down at first, but then ultimately becoming the drummer of this band? And what were your influences in drumming to make you the machine that you are?
It was crazy getting that opportunity because I know that a lot of kids and musicians have to go through a lot of years of struggling to be in a band and get to be in a studio and make music videos. So I'm really lucky to get this opportunity. So thank you guys. Yeah, that was awesome. A lot of my influences, the first drummer that I really looked up to was the Rev from Avenged Sevenfold. He kind of like opened up that world of drumming and really got me to start working hard. And then when I was like 12 or 13, Travis Barker was introduced to me, and I love him. He's my favorite drummer. So Travis is cool. And then Trey Cool from Green Day. I really like his stuff as well.
All great bands, all great drummers. And I got to see the Rev several times before his passing, so it was always a pleasure to get to see the original Avenged Sevenfold. They killed it. Everybody else, actually, I've never, off the list you mentioned, I've seen everyone but Green Day, which me and my wife have tickets to go see Green Day, Weezer, and Fall Out Boy next year sometime. So I'm pretty excited about that because I've never seen any of the three of them. I'm not a big Fall Out Boy fan, but I do like Green Day. I mean, from being a kid and then being very big with Dookie at that time, to Weezer's always just a band I really like just because they're fucking completely far out there. But no, they were great influences, and like I said, you all got a pretty good backstory to you. Now, as far as a band, you've been a band roughly about 2 years. You guys said. What has been some of your favorite moments and adventures as a band? There's always those moments and trips that you take together on the road that just stand out amongst the others. What would be some of your favorites, your top two?
Oh, that's hard. I'd say one that really sticks out was we were down in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, about 3 hours from St. Louis where we are. And we were loading up the trailer and getting ready to drive home, and I go, hey, Mike, check the lights, because we were having some trouble with the lights on our trailer. And he gets out, and he's checking them. He's like, they're not on. And I was like, oh. And then this dude gets out of the car behind us in the parking spot, and he goes up to Mike, and he goes, hey, man, you looking for a girl? And Mike was like, no, I'm married. I'm good, dude. And he goes, no, I got a real woman back here. And I just remember Mike's face come running back across to the car, and he goes, we need to leave now. We'll fix the lights later. And
yes. There's those moments, you just got to get out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a prostitute.
So
I played too much Grand Theft Auto to know what happens next. Okay.
Like, it's totally not like prostitutes happen. Like that's not that weird of a thing. But when it happens to you in the moment, like I didn't even know what was happening. He's like, "Hey man, there's a girl back there," and I was like, "Cool. Hope she's having a good day." Like did not register. He's like, "No man, like a real girl," and I was like,
"Oh, real."
Oh. And I was like,
"That's awesome." That's absolutely a real girl. Pinocchio always wanted a real girl. No, that's awesome. And like you said, it's funny. It's not in itself odd until it happens to you.
It happens, but like I'm such a sheltered person that when it happened to me, I was it took me by storm, and I ran back to the car, and I was like, "We gotta get out of here."
That's awesome, though. No, absolutely. And every show, and this is early in the show, but every show I grab a hashtag from the show, and this one's going to be Hookers Happen. So that's tonight's hashtag for the Wild and Free is Hookers Happen. Embrace yourself. No, there was moments. I remember being on the road a few times, and there was moments, either pulled over at a rest stop somewhere or just the venue itself where you leave, and there's some shady characters that are watching you and your equipment. That's a big thing, is when you're carrying thousands of dollars of equipment on, you have people sitting across the parking lot just watching you, and you're like, oh, you fucking try, and you see what happens.
Yeah.
But, so you got to watch out for that. But no, there's always a lot of weird stuff, prostitutes, and just, a lot of crazy shit, depending upon definitely where you're playing at as well. So I'm glad that you got the hell out of there, because you never know what could happen.
Actually, it's funny because Dan actually brings a stick.
It's a police baton.
Like one of those ones that like you literally like you flick your wrist and it extends.
Oh, the fold-out baton. Okay, we're getting fancy.
I mean, like he brings it to every show, so like when people are like creeping, like we're ready.
So if you're gonna rob us, rob Mike or Zach. Don't do Dan, he'll kill you.
Yeah, I had never like held or seen one of those up close until Dan brought it one time, and I was like, oh, you could wreck somebody with one of those.
You
could rob me, and I'd just be like, hey.
Yeah. Just
well,
don't.
You swayed my imagination, because originally, whenever you're like, he has a stick that he takes with him, I was thinking like a sharpened, like, Lord of the Flies stick in his hand, like a fucking little Indian.
Stick. But I don't think that's the proper
I think it's
term.
a nightstick.
Yeah, like a night.
It's like a
baton or
police
something.
baton.
Yeah,
Police
something like that.
baton, that's it.
Yeah, it's like a fold-out police baton. Yeah,
Yeah.
they definitely can wreck shop.
Oh yeah. You hit somebody hard enough, they're gonna be
Yeah,
out.
you can crack some skulls.
But you better hope they don't get it from you.
Yes.
Yeah, if they get it from you, it's game over. No, we have
You
Jay
better-
Allen, who's a member of my label Brutal Business Entertainment, jumped in, and he said, "Gotta love prostitutes." That's his comment on the show right now. And I got a couple other people tuning in, leaving comments right now. Some people laughing about the shit that we're talking about right now. We always keep it interesting on Uncovering the Underground, folks. If you are listening out there, like I said before, go to Spreaker.com or through the Spreaker app on the app market. You can jump onto our show and ask these guys questions live. You can leave comments and interact with the show. If you ask good questions, I will certainly ask the artists themselves the questions you ask. So get yourselves involved and share it around. Once again, like I said, we had to split this episode into two little beginning segments because of some technical difficulties, so you missed some of the things on this one that I said originally. But share it around, jump in and leave us comments as these guys are right now, and we appreciate those that are listening. So, you guys, you had some crazy, experiences on the road. What do you have planned coming up? I know that there's, in your bio, said that there's going to be a little bit of touring and promoting and marketing coming up. But anything specific that you guys have planned that you're trying to do in here in the near future with shows?
Yeah, so right now we're booking up a few weekend run type stuff. We have Des Moines, Iowa at Lefty's November 23rd, I believe. 22nd. And then we are in Mount Olive, Illinois on the 23rd of November. And then we're taking December off because we're doing some more recording then. And then in end of January, early February, we're going to be going down south, Arkansas, Mississippi, things like that. I don't have specific dates on those yet, but that's happening.
Get
Oh,
ready.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait for people to out there to see you guys and you get more traction and keep building. If you're listening out there and they are in your area or coming to your area, please stop in and check them out. Buy their merch, buy their music, support them, and help them continue what they are doing. I wanted to ask, and let me scroll up to see which one we end up ultimately deciding on. Rachel, why don't you tell me your feelings and thoughts on Band-Aid, what this song is about, and give kind of an interlude into it, and then I'm going to go ahead and let the fans hear this one.
Okay, so Band-Aid, yeah, we actually just did a video on this. Band-Aid is about being in a relationship with somebody that is not in a good mental state. Basically, somebody that's just hurting inside and is just hurting you as well. And you're trying to potentially fix them, but not knowing that you're not supposed to fix somebody because it's a complicated song. You can't fix people when they're broken inside. Not your Band-Aid. It's kind of what it is.
Well, absolutely. Let's let them hear it. You heard it, folks, right from Rachel herself. This is Band-Aid from The Wild and Free. We'll be right back here on Uncovering the Underground Radio Podcast Show.
Oh, yeah.
I wish you weren't so full of yourself. Too bad you're only here looking for handouts. What's the point of talking up what you've done when it ain't shit? I've heard it all before, there's nothing I'm missing. It'd be nice to get a little distance. They say you know when you find the one, and you're not it. I could tell you I'll fail 100 times, but you won't get it. I could slam my door in your face 1,000 times, but you don't quit it. I'm not your band-aid, I'm not gonna patch you up when life is getting tough. I'm not gonna pick you up. I can't do everything, I'm not gonna dust you off when last night was so rough. How can you call this love? You're too broken for me. As years go on, I forget all of the details of my life the way it's always meant to be. Well, you try and clean yourself up, and it really shows how thankful I am for what you've done. All you did was go and teach me a lesson. You can't try to fix a person when they don't want help, but life goes on. I could tell you I'll fail 100 times, but you won't get it. I could slam my door in your face 1,000 times, but you don't quit it. I'm not your band-aid, I'm not gonna patch you up when life is getting tough. I'm not gonna pick you up. I can't do everything, I'm not gonna dust you off when last night was so rough. How can you call this love?
Yo,
You're too
ACG, I
broken
tell you,
for me.
be strong, yeah, you got this, band. Just lose all of that negativity and drop the hate. Stay out your feelings even when I tell you not today. I showed it up, lean on is not a spot for toxic waste. Brighten your day, you don't like the sight of the sun. Try to lift you up, but it's almost like you gotta be bummed. You suck the air out the room and you stop all the fun. You want honesty? Well, honestly, we're probably
I'm
done.
not your band-aid, I'm not gonna patch you up when life is getting tough. I'm not gonna pick you up. I can't do everything, I'm not gonna dust you off when last night was so rough. How can you call this love? You're too broken for me.
And we are back on Uncovering the Underground Radio podcast show. That was the Wild and Freeze single, Band-Aid, and that is off their newest LP that they recently released, and that is an absolute hit. And I was just telling them on the break that I listen to all kinds of music. I'm just a fond lover of music, but I don't listen to a lot of pop, a lot of pop alternative type bands, and whenever I came across these guys, I love their sound. And I look for anything in music that stands out to me, that's different, that is worth listening to. And I came across this specific song and loved it. And I've listened to this song personally probably about 15 or so times now. So I was telling them that definitely means in my mind it's a hit. And I think I have a pretty good taste on music. So, you know, hopefully you guys like it. If you checked it out, why don't you drop us a comment and let us know what you thought of the song. If you have any questions for these guys, like I said, leave us a question and we'll go ahead and reach out and let them know what you're wondering. So definitely a dope song, and I caught a lot of feelings in that song, obviously. So Rachel, I definitely pick up your state of mind of what you had to say during that, you know, topic. And how has that song been perceived so far from your fans?
A lot of people have reached out to us about how relatable the song is, about how they're actually going through things in their life right now, and it's helping them. So that alone is amazing, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, it's been perceived really well.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you watch the YouTube or the Facebook videos, there's always going to be some haters out there. But no, overall, it's been received really well. It's always bittersweet when our fans say they relate to our music, because that's obviously touching for us. But on the flip side, I'm like, I'm sorry, because you know, Rachel wrote her lyrics about very personal topics that she's gone through, and I know personally what she's dealt with, you know, lyrically to write these songs. So when someone relates to them, I can only imagine what they're dealing with on their end. So it's touching for us when they say they relate to our music. But
it's a bummer too, because I know it hurts if you've experienced that firsthand. But at the same time, like, our music is kind of, I feel like we put like a happy spin to it, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, like Band-Aid is like, what Rachel went through to write that song was probably super difficult, but when you listen to it, it sounds very happy. So
It's empowering.
I think that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's like a celebration of, you know, this sucks, but like, we're gonna be okay. So I like to think when our fans say they relate to it, it's like a celebration of that. We're all gonna be fine, and we're all good moving forward.
I like to think of it as like therapy.
Yeah.
Like writing the song, it was therapy for me. Listening to the song for them, maybe it's helping them piece together things they're struggling with in life. Hopefully.
Amen.
Well, that's funny that you say that, because actually I was about to say pretty much verbatim that same thing, is that a good song that you pour your heart into, even if it is, you know, spawned from pain and suffering that you personally went through, it is your release to put it into the music, and it is most likely your fans' release to listen to it, either at just face value and they like the song as it's catchy, or more deeply, it corresponds with something that they've been going through or gone through, and it reminds them of them, you know, beating that battle and coming out on top, or they're currently in that battle and it's helping them get through. And it's very much that release. Now, as we talked about during that break, you guys ask, you know, some of the music that I'm into, and I'm in some of the more hardcore genres out there. And I always, you know, when making darker music, have had a lot of people not understand that and come and say, why do you enjoy making that? It's the type of release and type of music that I like to put my, you know, creative brain into, and it's that release that I need, and my fans in return listen and say all the time that is their release. So it's funny how music does that to you, and you can take those different feelings and transfer them into, you know, into tunes. And that actually brings up the question that a fan just commented in on, and that's why I wanted to segue into that, is he said, when creating your music, does your lyrics influence the instrumentals or vice versa? So he's wondering, do you write the instrumentals that influence what it is that you're going to say during the song, or do you kind of have a concept of what you want to say during the song and shape your instrumentals around that?
So it's weird. Like, it happens both ways. I've realized when Mike and I break down songs, it comes with the lyrics first, and then we kind of work on the chord progressions and instrumental that way. But it goes both ways, honestly. Like, there's been times that I have a melody, and then there's been times that I have some lyrics, and then it just develops. So really just, it depends on the day.
Yeah, that's true. Like, half the time we'll hash out a song together and try to find it, whether it's I start with the guitar part, and then she just throws some lyrics over the top of the music. But half the time, Rachel will come in with, like, a piano ballad. And that's how Band-Aid came about, too.
And Smoke and Mirrors, right?
And Smoke and Mirrors, yeah. Like, she'll come in, she'll write these beautiful Adele-like piano ballads, and Smoke and Mirrors and Band-Aid, and I think even Paper Cut, she came in, but basically fully written. You know, they weren't the, like, upbeat pop rock songs, but they were these very beautiful Adele-like, just heartbreaking ballads. And I'm like, these are so good. You know, I don't want to record it as is, but, like, the lyrics and the melody, and the full song is 100% there. So I just come in, and then that's where I would add, like, my guitar parts, or we'll work about how to make a chorus hit, or, you know, some lyrics here and there. But, like, Band-Aid, she was sending me a lot of demos. I'm like, that's good, okay. And then she sent me Band-Aid, and I listened to it, and Dan was in the car, and I was like, this for sure is going to go on the record.
Dude, I had like a Freddie Mercury moment when, like, that first, like, oh, I'm not a singer, but when that hit, I was just like, this reminds me of Queen, and that's probably because the movie Bohemian Rhapsody was huge at the time, and that's what connected. But I was just like,
she sent that. I'm like, that's for sure going on the record. It was so good, and it was fully written, and I probably had to write guitar to it for like 10 minutes to make it a TWAP song, but that was all Rachel, and she killed it. And when we tracked it in the studio, we knew we had something pretty special.
No, I think it definitely turned out very special, and like I said, I think that song is definitely a hit. That question was from Colin Lang, and he said, thank you guys for answering that. So great question, Colin. Jay Ellen said that was a great concept for a track, very relatable and catchy, and it sounded like a very happy song for such a sad topic. Music is therapy for a lot of people. It is beautiful. Absolutely, Jay. We 100% agree with you on that. Now, something you guys were just saying is that it made you relate to the Bohemian Rhapsody Queen, maybe because at that time they were, that movie, a year ago or however long ago that was now, was really, blowing up at the time. And it makes me think, what a great movie, but it makes me think of how troubled Freddie Mercury was and how hard it was to keep the band together, because there are always struggles in bands. As being someone who's been in bands my whole life, there's always different things, whether it be getting along, whether it be being able to be on the road and away from work and away from family and things like that, whether it be someone not showing up for practice or being late. I asked another band I had not too long ago what their weakest link is, and most people say, why the fuck would you ask me that? But I like to ask bands that, because I like to be transparent with people. Is if you had to pick something that you say, that's the one thing I wish we could tighten up on as a group and a unit. And one of the bands I recently asked that to said, being on time. They said, we get together for practice and someone will show up 25 minutes late, someone will show up an hour late. Sometimes, it'll be an hour in and, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it. They said it's sometimes hard getting us all together in the same room and practice, which is a very common struggle amongst most bands. I've certainly went through that myself with people that I was in bands with. But if you guys had to answer that, and it can be any one of you that want to jump in on it, what do you think would be the biggest struggle as an overall unit, and you would like to grow upon?
I think what you just said is probably a perfect answer. And it almost comes down to like math probability. Like we have 5 people in the band, and it only makes sense that during a practice, we get together 2 or 3 times a week. Someone's going to have something that's not going to line up perfectly. Like we all have, girlfriends or boyfriends, wives. I just had a kid, and it's tough to be on time 100% of the time. It's just tough. But I think what we strive to do and what we're getting better at is not like beating someone up over that, but like kind of joke about it and understand what they're going through with that day and move forward. It's so easy, and I think it's even in our past band, I felt like you almost take it too seriously, where you can really cause problems trying to make it a career. Where if someone's not perfect, you just beat that person up, and then it causes bad feelings, and then you just slowly fall apart. So with this band, I think we're really lucky in the fact that we're all very not perfect, but we understand where that person's coming from, and that we try to be there for them. So when we do get together, we are friends first, and then we can be as tight as possible and be friends and create kick-ass music.
That is the most important thing, and please take this from me if my opinion means anything, is be friends first and then musicians second. Yep. Don't be friends because of the music. And some people might say, I don't understand what you mean. Yeah. It's very common to become friends through the band. You make the band, you jam together, you have commonality of music, you travel together, you become great friends, and you never see the fact that the reason that you're great friends is solely because of your music. It's only later on that you dissect it and you say, what do we actually have in common other than the fact of jamming and being friends? And that can be very damaging to a friendship. Whereas if you become friends first and find that commonality between one another and you like each other genuinely as people and you make music secondly, that is how you stay a band. And that's the problem, is too many people become friends because of the music, and when the music becomes hard and there's anything thrown in the mix there, it also it jeopardizes the friendship. So that's an important thing, I think.
100%. Dan and I, we've been in bands together now for 7 years, and it's amazing that we haven't killed each other yet, but we have our moments, but I think we both obviously know we're always coming from. And furthermore on that, like this band, I'd say the first year was tough. Like we were all like complete strangers. Rachel was completely new, Mark was completely new, and it was 100% we're just getting together for the music. And not saying that we didn't like each other, but we just didn't know each other. And it took a long time for us to kind of gel and to figure out, like, wait a minute, like if this band quit, like I would still want to hang with these guys. And I think it was right before we decided to do a record, maybe a couple months beforehand. Like I don't know exactly what happened, but a light switch went off, and it started to feel like a band, and we got really tight. And that moment moving forward, like these are my brothers and sisters, and honestly, like I'd do anything for them.
And we try to take time outside of music, like one day a week where we just have a hangout time where it's not business, where it's not music, where we're just hanging out doing whatever we like to do, kind of being friends.
That was the biggest reason too. I was terrified to bring Zach in the band because like right before like we were maybe 6 months now. It's like the band finally feels good. If we bring a new member in, no matter who it is, like the chemistry will just change. It just will.
And
I was terrified to ruin
I'm a
that.
huge asshole.
Yeah.
So,
Plus Zach is super ugly, so we were scared. And and honestly, like I was so scared to mess with that chemistry. And once we brought Zach in, like thank God, like it just made everything better. So the chemistry that we did have just multiplied, and now it feels super good, and I don't ever want it to stop.
No, absolutely, and that's a great thing. And Colin kind of added to his question here, and I'm sorry I got distracted for one split second because Dakota messaged in. Obviously, it's how I came across you guys, and he says I can't hear the band, and I'm telling him at the moment there is another episode. There was a mistake during the show, and there's another episode. So if you're listening out there, Dakota, this is the correct episode now. But Colin had jumped in. He had that question for you guys, and he backed that up with a second part, and he said, with the fights, with any of the conflicts that you guys face as a band, do the struggles and your love or hate in those moments help grow you as a band, or do they sometimes damage it? And it can go either way. Sometimes there's fights that you just look at that person like, I'm still going to love my brother over there on guitar, but at the same time, that just caused some friction there. And there's other times that hate, and you get over it, and you end up putting that hatred into a song. And then you write some of the best shit you've ever written, and you look at each other and you're like, all right, you're like, you know what, you son of a bitch, I'm glad I wanted to punch you in the face because now I just wrote the best song I've ever written. So how's that, flow for you guys?
So basically, we're all individuals. We all have different opinions, and you kind of have to remember that when you're in the room hashing out a new song, everyone's going to have different inputs, and everyone's not always going to agree with one another. And what this group of people is really good at doing is we're good at respecting each other's opinions as hard as it can be sometimes. And there's been, yelling matches and things like that. But at the end of the day, we all still love each other. We all still care for each other.
And we all want what's best.
And we all want what's best for the music and for the band. And, you just kind of got to remember why you're doing it in the first place is, it's like we all love making music. We all love making music with each other. And you just kind of have to take a step back in those heated moments and remember why you're all together in the first place.
I think too, it's like arguing with a sibling. Like nobody's perfect, and there's always going to be times when you butt heads with somebody. But at the end of the day, it's like that's your brother, or that's your sister. Like you still know at the end of the day you wanted. Everybody wants what's best, and we all still like love each other. And I think that's what keeps everything, awesome.
That and the fact that your drummer isn't crazy, so at least not that I know about. So
he's very crazy awesome.
Yeah. Mark, it's okay that you're crazy awesome on the drums, but here's a piece of advice there: don't become a nutcase, all right? Because here's the thing, and you guys are probably like, what the hell? Where'd that come from? Drummers are insane, and I don't think I've ever. I mean, there might be one or two drummers out of the 100 that I've, personally known as a friend or someone who was an acquaintance that wasn't completely nuts. And you guys can either make a band or you can destroy it by just being nutcase, completely off your rocker. And in this case, you sound like you have a good head on your shoulder, so I think you're fine. But these guys probably appreciate you not being a complete lunatic.
Well, I don't know. I'm only 20, so like there's still time.
Don't say that.
We can still bully him for now.
Mark's like, yeah, but I could be bad. I think I speak for the band when Mark's probably the most tamed and relaxed out of all of us.
He really is. He's so quiet. He's like, if I don't have to talk, I'm not doing it.
You would think that we're all 20 and he's like 27.
That's funny. But that kind of worries me as well because it's the quiet ones you always have to watch out for. So, like he said, there's time for him to certainly grow. So I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to fast forward 3 years and bring you back and see if you guys are still here. You'll all be individual at that point. You'll be like, that fucking Mark, he went nuts 2 years later. Lost his mind.
Yes.
No, that's great. No, I think, like I said, you guys have a great flow with one another, and you certainly have a great relationship. All of you guys are doing very good. What is some of your biggest influences as a band? No, I mean, that can be different than your influences as individuals. I know you each have your own influences as bands and artists that you look up to, but as a band as a whole, who are some of your biggest influences, collectively?
That's a good question. Because obviously we've got that question a lot, but as individuals, which is very easy to answer, but as a band, we get compared to Paramore all the time, which is an easy go-to. It's like rock and roll, female singer, you're Paramore. We love Paramore, so it's a huge compliment whenever we get that. But as a band, I don't know.
I think we all.
Zach, you didn't write the record.
I think we all grew up in the time period of like pop rock and pop punk, like heavy bands, like All American Reject.
You did too.
Yeah, great. All American Rejects, All Time Low, Boys Like Girls, Paramore, like all that. So like, I think we all like.
That's a good.
Like really.
Minus that or minus Mark.
Yeah.
But still, Mark's like favorite band is Blink.
Yeah,
that's
like
true.
we like happy music.
We like pop rock songs about breakups that sound happy.
Yeah.
You know what? That's the great thing about music is we all like what we like, and there's no explaining it. And like I try to tell my wife that before. She understands, certainly. Me and my wife are huge music lovers. We go to more concerts than any normal person probably ever should. But we like very different music. She likes very upbeat, happy, deep, type of emotional music, and that's great. I enjoy that. But I like very dark, evil, crazy music, and there's so many times she's like, Garrett, I don't want to hear that shit because I can't feel any happiness by listening to what I just heard. And I'm like, well, that's fine, but when I listen to it, I'm happy. I'm like, when you listen to what you listen to, you're happy. But that's what's great is we have the taste that not only we like to listen to, but we like to perform as. And sometimes they're actually very different than one another. I don't actually listen to a lot of the same style music that I perform. So when people come up to me, personally myself, I do a lot of things. I'm a guitarist. I am a rapper. I'm a very accomplished rapper in the underground scene and been doing it for a very long time. And I do what I guess a lot of people would call horrorcore, but I hate to use that term because most 99% of horrorcore is absolute garbage. And people all the time are like, who are your favorite horrorcore artists? And I'm like, well, if I ever meet one, I'll tell you. And people get thrown off by that because I play that type of music, but I don't listen to that type of music. I listen to a lot of different type of sounds. So that's great to hear your guys' sounds actually pretty true to what you guys sound like now, but you didn't always come from that exact style of sound. So, what have all of you guys always been in that same kind of genre? I know it's a little bit different, but same kind of genre of music, or have any of you been in something completely, left field?
Let's go down the line. Rachel?
Have you always been into like this kind of music?
Kind of. As we grow older, our taste in music, mine personally changed. When I was younger, I was into like K-pop and German metal bands and various things. But as I grew older, I started liking a little bit of pop punk. I liked Evanescence and Paramore and stuff like that. And then it developed into a EDM craze, and here I am. Still crazing about the EDM.
EDM can be a fun scene. It's something personally, and I mean I like EDM music still, but I mean it depends on the type of scene. You got your festivals and things like that, but like straight underground EDM, like raves and festivals like that, I used to go to and partake in, but these days I just can't do it. I can't. I feel like I'm the odd man out. And that's a weird thing to even say. You go to a rave and you're the weird one, then something's wrong. But I feel like I go there and I'm looking around the room and I'm like, everybody is so strange, but they're all so like collectively together. And I'm like, I'm the weirdo in the corner. But I love EDM music. I have for a long time. I've always loved all kinds of electronic music, whether it be trance, whether it be jungle, whether it be dubstep. Always been something I've enjoyed listening to, so I can see where you find love in that style of music, and I can actually pick up a good chunk of that in your singing, even though your guys' songs together don't sound like EDM. You pick up the roots of certainly where you got that influence by.
Right.
Yeah.
It took us a while to find our sound. The Sugar High EP, I think, was probably closer to EDM than our record. As far as it was a poppier sound.
We're going for like an indie pop
sound, and then oddly enough, I got contracted out just separate from the band to write a song about a werewolf. It's kind of strange, and I brought Rachel in to help with the writing because we were co-writing, and we wrote the song called Werewolf Heart. And since it wasn't for the band, I decided just to kind of make it more rock-oriented, kind of what I was more used to. And when I showed the rest of the band, I think it was Dan who said, like, this is what we need to sound like. Like, this is much closer to what we want to do. And Rachel said the same. And oddly enough, we all got our influences. But as a band, I think we just favor a more of a heavier rock sound with still some EDM influences. And we're still striving towards that. But as a band, it seemed to fit. And the next single we tracked after Werewolf Heart was Fire. And after we tracked that song, I feel like that's where we really captured the rock influences of Werewolf Heart, plus some good, sexy synth leads in the chorus brought by Rachel. And after that single, that's when we kind of made up our minds that we need to do a record around the sound, and that's kind of where we found that this band really, truly lives. So we cut a record. We did 9 brand new songs. To capture that feeling, and we're so stoked to release the full aspect of it. Some are heavier, some are more EDM influences, but we do feel like this record completely captures what this band's about, and we can't wait to release it.
And what date is it, you guys? I mean, you might not have a date specifically picked, or you might not be willing to release that just yet, but when can we expect roughly for that to drop?
Never!
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell you about it. You'll never get it.
Yeah, it's been kind of weird. Like, it was supposed to be out this fall, but then we got kind of a cool opportunity this winter to do a song. And we were like, it'd be really cool if this song could be kind of the single for the record. So we kind of pushed it back. So I guess we're shooting for maybe late winter, early spring now.
It's kind of tricky because, like, releasing a record in 2019 or 2020 is such almost a weird thing to do now as an independent band, and I almost want to say the record's out now. We've been releasing a new single every 6 to 8 weeks since April, so you can already listen to Fire, Paper Cut, Smoke and Mirrors, and Band-Aid. That's all off the record. We'll have a new song called Be the Hero that'll be out in probably about another 4 weeks. So we're releasing the record right now. We're just doing it kind of in chunks. So it's out. We're just kind of slowly milking it. So we'll probably have a physical copy of it, like Dan said, in the spring. But right now we're having a good time releasing it slowly and keep everybody on their toes.
Now let me ask you guys a question, and I will direct this. Let's see, who do I want to throw this one at? I will direct this one at you, Zach. Do you feel that, one of the big things in today's music industry is that the necessity for a full-length album is not necessarily there as much as it once was. Now, I'm someone who always liked releasing full-length albums myself. I have put out 5 full-lengths. I'm actually working on my 6th. But I'm starting to get to this point where a lot of acquaintances in the scene are not really going the traditional route and doing full-length albums. They're doing just singles. The reason being is you can drop a single, let that drag out for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, like you guys said, drop another single, and just keep doing that. So you could stockpile a whole album's worth, and then over the 6 months it takes you to release that full album's worth of work, you just do it as singles, you already have a whole nother 6 months written. And there's a lot of people going that route, and they're noticing, because here's the problem with today's culture, is they hear a single, they'll play the hell out of it, they'll get kind of sick of it and old with it, and they have a new single out, boom, they don't care anymore. Same thing with an album. You give them a great album, they'll love it, but if they play it to death the first 3-4 months, they love it, but then they're like, where's the next album? It's almost like that whole album got old already. The singles keeps them stimulated as much as an album does, and that's sad, because they're asking you, when's the new album coming? You're like, well, I just dropped it 4 months ago.
Well,
you know what I mean? It takes a long time to write. So what's your thoughts on singles versus full-length albums?
I think you nailed it. I think the day and age that we're in such a digital age where we're constantly being flooded with content. Like, whether it's music, movies, TV shows, you know, the internet. It's our attention span is so short nowadays that for an independent band to stay relevant, you got to keep people on their toes, and you got to keep teasing people and making them want more. And I think full length albums, one, they're very expensive to do, and it's a big investment to just drop all in one swing and you know, hope that people will listen to it constantly for more than 4 months. Like you were saying, like some people will listen to it over and over again, and then something else comes out, and then their attention's to that. So I think the biggest thing you can do nowadays is, especially as an independent artist without any kind of label backing or anything like that, you need something to stay relevant, and you need something to keep people coming back for more. So yeah, we have a full length, but instead of giving it to you all in one package, we want you to hear a song like, oh my God, that was awesome. Like, I can't wait to hear what they're going to do next. And then at the very end, you get rewarded with a nice package of it all together for you. You know, then you can go through and you can pick out, well, I remember where I was when this song came out. I remember the time of year that this song came out. And it's more than just all there for you and just kind of given to you in one full swing. So,
and not to mention, we're releasing every single with a music video, which as an independent band, I don't even think major bands are doing that. So we're really trying to bring that music to you the best way we can possible with the video, the song, all that. And Zach freaking nailed that answer, dude. Good job.
You guys did. And I mean, the thing is, and I don't know the exact number off the new CD, but you guys how many music videos you guys have out right now? I think on your page you have maybe 4 or 5. Is that on there?
We've officially done, I think, 8.
Yeah.
Oh, 8. Okay. So you got, maybe I didn't see them all on the website when I was on there. Maybe that's all you have on at the time being on that specific page. But
for the record, there's 5 so far for just songs from the.
Maybe that's what I seen then. Maybe for the okay, because no, and that's impressive because a lot of bands. That's another thing that's skipped out a lot of. I mean, a lot of people have music videos, obviously, but there's a great portion of bands and artists that I see in the scene that have several albums or projects out, not a single music video. And it's kind of strange to me because I've always been the other way around. Like, I'd rather have 5 songs and 5 music videos than 5 albums and 5 music videos. So I think that's very important because the visual is what stimulates their mind, as you said, Zach. It's hard to keep people's attention span, especially with just audio. But when you give them that visual stimulation, that helps stick in their brain a little longer. But we are, as a culture, now trained, and I do use the word trained, to not stay focused on anything very long. And the reason I brought that question up is exactly how he stated in his answer, that you're giving them the best of both worlds. Yes, we are providing you an album, but we're doing so in individual chapters so that it holds your attention as a single, but it gathers your attention as an album. It still ends you at the same, destination, but instead of taking one big paved road, we took 20 different, individual trails. And I like that because I think that's going to have more of an impact for you ultimately overall on the project.
Right. We ultimately got our marketing strategy from our good friend Damian Keys on YouTube. Check him out. But the way he phrased it is so simple but true. He goes, releasing an album of, let's say, 11 songs is not 11 more times as exciting as dropping a single.
Yeah.
It's not like if you drop a single, it's exciting. If you drop an album, it's not 11 times as exciting. It's just, oh, cool. But then you've utilized all your resources and you've exhausted your creative and you're done. So we spent literally all of our time and money, and we wrote this record over the course of a year. And if we were to drop it in the summer, like you said, people would be like, all right, what's next? And we'd be done, So instead, we're going to try to do a music video every single. We're going to put out new music every 6 to 8 weeks, and we're busting our asses to do it. Every dime is coming out of our pocket and out of the band, and we're doing it for the fans and mainly because we love it. But we can't wait to keep the train rolling and keep putting good stuff out there.
And the good thing is you can switch that too, because I've done that same philosophy, not with the music videos per song, but I have done where I've released each individual song as a single until the album itself eventually came, to fruition and dropped as an album. And then I remember after I did that on the one album, the following album, I didn't do that. So then they were used to being constantly given material, and then I just fucking shut them off. And that's the way you do it, because then they're like, well, wait a second, where's all these singles at? And I'm like, well, I'm only giving you 3 off the entire album. You want the rest, you got to buy it.
Sure.
And it made a little bit of a frenzy, so that's a good marketing scheme as well. And then the next album, I went back to doing individual singles. So that's a great way of going about for a marketing standpoint to obviously build buzz and build fan base to help you guys bring in more revenue too on those in between albums. So that's a great thing, and with the visual stimulation, I really like that. We do have some other questions and things being on here. Someone asked, are you on Spotify?
Yes.
Heck yeah.
They are, so check them out. If you're listening out there, check them out. They are on Spotify, and we'll get into all the places you can catch them at the end of the show. Good point. I can't wait till the album drops. EPs, I think, are very important as well, and 4 great songs are better than 18 okay songs. All good, valid points, folks. Like I said, drop us your comments. Drop us what you're thinking out there. One of the questions we got asked is, here is a question. Do the genres that you guys enjoyed in the past who make you who you are as a musician influence what you guys make today? Or does, your change of... Hold on a second. I'm trying to read the second part of this question. Or do you change your genres to what you like now? So is your past influences accumulating to what we hear as the Wild and Free, or did your guys' recent, changes in your music shape what you are now?
The music that we are creating has never been done before in any other type of way.
This is the only on earth.
We're very sarcastic.
No, for me at least, definitely my past. Because in this current day and age, I am just a huge country boy. Like I the only thing I listen to in current music is country, like pop country music.
Yeah.
It's weird, but like growing up, like this was kind of what I listened to. Is kind of what we're playing now.
Yeah,
No,
and
that's great to hear the different influences. Right there's one you wouldn't necessarily think, listening to you guys, that, okay, one of their members is a very big country fan. But that's what's great is if you weren't as big of a country fan as you are, you guys wouldn't sound like you do, because every influence somehow helps to shape what you pour out of you.
That's
For
true.
sure. I think we definitely take different aspects, like even with country, like you'll hear maybe like a guitar tone or like a guitar part or even a melody, or just like the way like country singers write their songs with very story based. I think like we take because I mean Dan and I, we both listen to like heavy music too. Like we listen to like Beartooth and like all kinds of like grungy, like balls to the wall heavy stuff. I think you take different pieces from all the different kinds of music we listen to and try to translate it and morph it into how you can make things work. I mean, it's kind of confusing and hard to answer, but like you definitely take different influences from everything, whether it's like stuff you listen to today or stuff you listen to when you're in high school. Like I think we're always trying to capture the magic of the best parts of each kind of music, and you just want to make everything, I don't know, sound good.
yeah, and the biggest thing I think that I'm personally super proud of, not that I had anything to do with it, but like the record sounds obviously like it's done by one band, but every song is so different. Like we've only released 4 singles, but seriously, listen to Fire, Paper Cut, Smoke and Mirrors, and Band-Aid. They're so different.
Yeah.
And those are just 4 random songs. We still have one that's basically acoustic, one that's definitely an indie pop song.
One that's close to metal.
We have yet to release our heaviest song. Like the record, every song, and that's why I love like the Wild and Free band name. Like every song is so different. And
There's
I think
something there for everyone.
Exactly.
It's like a bag of Skittles with unlimited flavors.
Rachel hasn't talked in like half an hour. She's like, it's like candy.
Yeah, she comes out of nowhere with a Skittle comment. I love it.
Taste the rainbow, the wild and free.
Every song is so different, and I think our next single, Be the Hero, is something that we've never released before. Like, as far as the sound, obviously we never released it. But, like, it sounds different than anything we previously released, and the single that's going to follow that out of time is probably going to be our heaviest song. Mm-hmm. And then the one after that is going to be our softest song, so we can't wait to show you what we have.
We can't wait to certainly hear it, and we're going to jump into a second song right now and let everybody get to hear what you were just talking about. Folks, this is Paper Cut, and this is from The Wild and Free, and you were listening to this, right here on Uncovering the Underground. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
I just wanna shout you out. What a shame I didn't turn you down. What a stun you pull it off around. Left me hoping you would come around. Pull myself together once again. Can't do this forever. Paper towns and paper hearts tear up the seams and fall apart. They fall apart. They fall apart. Shiny gowns and jewelry go together perfectly, but we do not. You're my paper cut. I didn't care what you had done before, but I don't think that I can take much more. Part of me thought you were just misguided. It's clear to see the feelings were one-sided. Pull myself together once again. Can't do this forever. Paper towns and paper hearts tear up the seams and fall apart. They fall apart. They fall apart. Shiny gowns and jewelry go together perfectly, but we do not. You're my paper cut. Paper towns and paper hearts tear at the seams and fall apart. They fall apart. They fall apart. Shiny gowns and jewelry go together perfectly, but we do not. You're my paper cut.
And we're back on Uncovering the Underground Radio podcast show. That was Paper Cut by The Wild and Free, and that was a great song too. I like both of the songs that they sent in tonight to be played for you guys, and hopefully you like them as well. If you do, please let us know in the comments what you think of the songs. Share them around, check out all their websites, buy their merch, buy their music, and keep supporting these guys. As we said, if you see them at a show near you, please stop in and say hello. They would love to meet you and love to talk to you. Love to hear what you think about their music. So we're going to jump into the lightning round. So we got serious for a while. We talked about your past. We talked a little bit about your future, your music releases, and all types of things of that nature. Now we're going to go into the lightning round, where I'm going to throw some very strange questions out at you. We don't need to go so in depth on these ones. We're just going to kind of fire out some answers, and then after that, we're going to go ahead and give you time to tell us where we can check out all your music at, your links, and then we'll go ahead and or your shout outs rather, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up the episode for the evening. But so let's see, what do I want to hit you guys with? Every show I ask the artist or the band if animals were to take over the world. I'm not saying that they become intelligent and can talk or any crazy shit like that, I'm just saying they rise up and animals battle to an ultimate end. Who is the ultimate leader of all of the animal races, and why? Well, you got to think there's so many different ways of looking at it and answers to go about it, because I've had people say primates before because they are smart, they're strong, they know how to survive in the forest. But I've also had people say squid. I've had people say jellyfish. I've heard a lot of different things because water, that gorilla can't do much in the water, and if the animals in the water hung on long enough, this world will eventually be underwater. So therefore, everything would drown except the things in the water. So there's different ways of looking. I've had people say fire ants, because those pesky little bastards, they come in millions. They bite the shit out of you. You can't do much about it to stop them. So there's a lot of different answers. So I always like to hear the differences in people's answers there. Now, if you guys had to pick a moment as a band that, and you don't have to, like I said, go into a story on it, you can just fire out an answer at me. If you guys had to pick something that you guys did as a group, as a band, that you don't regret doing, but you sure as hell would never do it again, whether it's a specific show, whether it's a song you wrote, whether it's just something out there, that you guys have done that you're like, wow, I don't regret doing it, but we as a group would certainly never do that again. That's it. We're gonna leave you hanging. They forgot the key at the. So you said forgot the key, right? Oh, okay. So forgotten key at the Airbnb, folks. You heard it here. Rachel, you sound like you have your hands full over there. So good luck to you. Um, these guys are gonna keep you on your toes. So question is, why is it that manholes are round instead of square? You've never seen mine. now, Now you're given an elephant and you're not allowed to sell it. You're not allowed to give it away. What do you do with that elephant? You can do anything you want. It's your elephant. That that's the word on the street, at least. I like it. You guys got some certainly diverse answers. We got people making friends with it, people we feeding it peanuts. Rachel's cannibalizing this fucking elephant. She's killing it and eating it. It's getting crazy, folks. Watch out for this one. No, she said she's gonna make a cooking show with it, folks. She's not PETA. Please, no PETA, folks out there. Hit me up. I think the only proper way to do that is if you ride with it down. Yeah, give him 2 years and that elephant's going off the roof. Now, one of the other questions I sometimes ask folks is if it can be any of you individually, the biggest animal lovers in the group, whoever that would be, is if your animal had to describe you to someone and they had a voice to do so, what do you think that they would say about you as a person? All right. Oh wow. So you're one of those folks then. Okay. I gotcha. Now what type of animals we talking about, folks? Cats, dogs, what do we got here? And what's funny about it is you're like, "Oh, so Mark lives on a farm." He's like, "Oh no, I have a one-bedroom apartment in the city." I just snuck in a cow and didn't tell anybody. No, that's awesome. I like it. Well, I always like to just throw, like I said, some random strange questions out at folks just to kind of throw them off, break up the monotony of all the information on the show. Now, if you guys could pick one show, one festival, one artist, it can be any of the above, and this will be our last question of the night. Who would you guys, as a group, not individually, but as a group, cumulatively like to perform with or work with? Or what would be the ultimate show as a group that you guys would like to play? You guys should play that Fire Fest that Joe Roll was trying to put together. That would be a sweet time. If any of you guys would know about that, um, what a sham. Now the Super Bowl, I think you guys wouldn't have to worry about the pressure because you wouldn't actually be playing your music. So you would just really have to know how to look like you're playing your music. Zach could be whipping out his nipples on stage. Things would get wild. Fans would love it. It would be fucking, just it'd be chaos. So why don't we jump in here and you tell the folks what to check out of you guys as far as links and sites where you're at, where they can find you. Tell us once again about your upcoming album, and then let us know your shout outs for the night, and then we'll go ahead and give some closing comments on my end, and we'll wrap up. So I'm starting to think that you were getting paid per emo. So you got a lot in there. You guys got a big paycheck coming to you. Rachel's making Instagram pages for them and putting pictures of her cat with Emo's Pizza. It's getting crazy. There you go. No, that's awesome. And shout out to everybody else that you mentioned and all the companies that you guys use. I used to use SIT strings myself, so that's a cool one to hear. I haven't heard that in a while. And no, that's great. And a couple of announcements I wanted to make, folks, is check us next week on the 10th. That is with Diabolic the Monster, underground horrorcore, hardcore underground rapper. We're talking about the newest release of his newest album, Gasoline, which recently just dropped in the last few days. It is insane, and you guys will love it. And then we got a lot of other great guests coming on the show in the next few weeks, next few months, so make sure you're sticking around. We bring it to you every single week, a show. This one being a little bit of a special episode on a Wednesday night because I do have a show myself tomorrow. But you can catch us back on our normal rotation next Thursday, the 10th of October, with Diabolic the Monster. On the 9th and the 16th of October, you can catch my other radio show, Celestial Oddities. First and foremost, it's Celestial Oddities Odd World Listeners Encounters, where we take on phone calls from around the world of people's paranormal experiences and encounters that they've had. And then the following week on the 16th, it is our joint show with Daniel James and I, Celestial Oddities Pair of Normal Guys podcast. And we'll be talking always in-depth conversations about specific topics. This one is about world civilizations, so civilizations that live within or under the crust of the Earth's surface. So we like to talk about a lot of bizarre things and theories out there. We have got a lot of feedback from you guys wanting to hear this episode, and that's why we're bringing you this specific topic as you guys had asked for. So we are certainly happy to do so, and that is on the 9th and then followed by the 16th of this month. Check everything out with Brutal Business at www.teambrutalbusiness.com for all of your updates and news, and hit the share button. Once again, thank you to all of our sponsors. Since I did do the second episode because of the break earlier and the mishap with the miscommunication of instruments here, I want to retouch base on our sponsors. That's Tattooed Scumbag Apparel at tattooedscumbag.com. Promo code BBE10 for 10% off your overall order. We want to give a shout out to Roush Designs, Legion Artwork, Rob Trey Graphics, and it's Phil 5 milligram graphics as well. And then last but not least, we did want to give a quick shout out as well to Sam Baumgarten. He is in a league called Blazing Pedals Racing League. They are a professional league in the iRacing division for anybody that's into iRacing. They do broadcast on YouTube, and that's on the Turn 3 Racing Network. They run every Sunday night from 8:30 and on, and the broadcast starts about 10 minutes or so before the green flag. They are sponsored by trjkarting.com, and if anyone's into simulated racing, he wants you to come check them out. And the BBE cars are taking on Blazing Pedals. And the reason I mention this is Sam Baumgarten is the driver for the iRacing division that runs two specific individual Brutal Business Entertainment cars with our logos and artwork on it. So we appreciate you guys running that. Much love to you for, obviously supporting Brutal Business. We're glad to be a sponsor of yours. And just check out everything that's coming to you guys. Make sure you check out all the sites that the Wild and Free have certainly dropped for you tonight. Check out their music. Hit them up at a show near you. And other than that, we will catch you next week on Uncovering the Underground. Once again, I do want to say thank you to Mike and Dan, to Rachel, to Zach, to Mark, all of you guys. Thank you for being on the show tonight. And we will certainly catch you next time around here on Uncovering the Underground.
Hey, thank you for having us. Thank you.
And thank you to Dakota for hooking this whole thing up. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
And absolutely, shout out to Dakota for making this connection happen. And also shout out to Replicon Radio and Paul, who had mentioned earlier, for meeting you guys at the festival in the dinosaur suits. So shout out to him. Yeah. But we appreciate you guys being on. For the fans out there, we appreciate you listening, and we'll catch you next week on Uncovering the Underground. You guys have a good night.
You too, man. Thank you.